Hi, everyone. I'm Meredith. And listen, I'm just a girl, still stuck in her apartment, still looking for people to talk to. So I found someone. My guest today is the artistic director of the acting company, Ian Belknap. We're talking about not only what it's going to take to get theater back after the pandemic, but how it's going to get back on the road and tour. Now, before Ian and I get into all of that, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Let's Talk About It YouTube channel. I don't want you missing new episodes. And when you do, make sure you hit that little notification bell right there so you never miss a video. Go ahead, like and subscribe. Ian and I can wait. Did you do it? Okay, great. Ian, thanks so much for being here. Let's talk about it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, thank you. The pipeline has had to have shifted drastically for what work is going to be coming up for the acting company, what plays and productions we're going to see. What does that look like now going forward? And what's coming up, what's been pushed back, and what might never see the stage because of the halt we've had with the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, for better or for worse, I mean, when you tour, you plan a tour about a year and a half or 2 years in advance. So what was already happening pre-pandemic is we were shifting our booking agent and the mechanics of our tour. So on one hand, that's a positive. We are going to have brand new productions coming out. One of which Kent Gash is directing a production of Twelfth Night. The second production is directed by Carl Cofield, which will be a new adaptation of the Three Musketeers. They will tour the continental United States beginning probably we'll go into rehearsal at the end of 21, and the tour will be early in 22. So that is, currently what we're prepping for. And I think now, the good news is we'll be able to go into rehearsal in November without any, it looks like the vaccine will all be in place. Everyone who wants it will receive it, and we can go out, and get back to touring. And I think that's one of the unique things about the acting company is that, we're going to go to communities large and small all over the country. And, presumably everywhere is going to be healing. So I think it'll be a really, good time to take theater. Both productions, are very aspirational, exciting, stories. So really looking forward to that. In terms of what we've lost, we had a production that was going to play off Broadway of Meg Mareshnick's My Antonia, which we're no longer going to be doing. It's still under commission, so we may do it in the future. But in the immediate time, we're going to do that last summer, and that's not happening. So good news and bad news there.
Yeah. But as a touring company, there has to also be challenges dealing with, a country that's very diverse with how it's handled the pandemic and different protocols and how you look to re-enter live theater with, those differences.
Yeah, I mean, there's some states, quite frankly, that said, "Can you bring a production to us in 21, early in the winter or spring of 21?" The answer to that is no. I mean, we're not in a place. I mean, morally, we'd be opposed to that. We don't want to risk any audience or artists' lives. Despite how vital the theater is, it's not a matter of life or death. So, there were states and places asking that of us early in 21, which we're not doing. So yeah, there are a ton of protocols. I mean, I think we're like everyone, we're learning some of those day by day. It starts with the state of New York, what we're able to rehearse, what are the protocols, that the government's giving out, how are the unions responding to those protocols. So there's still a lot to be worked out. So that's really what's going to take up the next 8 or 9, 10 months. As it relates to going to different states. And, we have a situation where actors are, traveling on a bus, they're in a hotel, they're living in very tight quarters. So for us, there was no realm of possibility would we ever be able to have toured without a vaccine.
Do you see any kind of touring happening next year at all? Like the aspirational time of Broadway opening come June, which who knows? Do you see anything for 2021 in terms of live and
I think there will be live theater at venues across the country in the fall of 21. I can't speak to Broadway across America or any of what they have in store. I just don't know about it.
But for the acting company?
The acting company is not going to tour in the fall of 21. That doesn't have anything to do with COVID. That just has to do with tour scheduling. I mean, it's very difficult in this slot right now to book over the holiday period. So a lot of, when you're taking 12-person casts out, et cetera, that means you have to lay everybody off, et cetera, over the holidays. So we try to avoid that and rehearse over the holidays and then go out in the new year. So there won't be any touring for us in the fall of 2021.
It must be hard for people to understand because we're all waiting for that. If it's the vaccine, that white flag, where things can just reopen again, where the theater doors are just going to reopen again. But it's not that easy. And
No.
for you, that will look more like, it sounds like just rehearsing starting.
Yeah, I mean, I think a healthy way to look at it for anyone is nothing's going to be like it was. I mean, and I think you have to be optimistic about that. There's possibilities inside of that. I mean, I think that it's exciting to think about after this whole time there hasn't been any theater to return to having theater. So, but yeah, there's just all sorts of protocols we have to iron out. I mean, and that. That's going to take some time. And I think that's going to be the bulk of the next, 9 or 10 months before we get into rehearsal. So, we're a much smaller organization, not for profit touring. I think it's worth emphasizing that, we're not touring on the budget that, a Broadway show is touring. So, and that goes into, everything, just how you handle protocols and what have you. I mean, we're really at the mercy of medicine and science and what the government tells us is safe.
How has this time changed how you've been able to, work with actors in terms of the acting companies training philosophies when it comes to actors in the theater? I mean, as you said, no one's touring. What does rep look like when everything is virtual?
Yeah, we are in January and February going to have a couple of productions that will be in rep. What we're doing is we're going to go into the format of radio drama. I think there's something much more appealing and interesting about it in that it's honest about what it is, as opposed to using Zoom as a medium or any type of video as a medium, where we're sort of using video to express what we think theater is. You're sort of mixing two mediums. Radio can just be a return to it. And we're living sort of in a golden age of, podcasts. So
Right.
It's hand in hand with that. So we'll have a couple of productions coming up that will be free. That not only will we send out to venues across the country, but we'll also have adjacent, they'll be used for our education programs, which are robust, which happen both in the 5 boroughs of New York City and all across the country. So we'll have casts that are in rep for both of those productions, but that is really the first, repertory experience we've had since the shutdown. So there has been no rep, but we are getting ready here in the new year to do that.
Talk to me more about, you mentioned the idea of possibility when everything is taken away and you have to find new in this changed way of life. What do you think that possibility idea looks like for the acting company? What, new and exciting ways have you thought about creating theater, working with actors, the radio drama being one of them, for the coming year and going on from there?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of it's not necessarily new for us, but it's a way I want to grow and improve. Is certainly what's transpired in the last 9 or 10 months is also the racial inequality that's existed in this country has been laid bare. I think dismantling white supremacy is a big chief goal at the acting company. We have always, diversity's been a main value inside of the actors in our company. So looking at ways to improve that is certainly, I think, a new possibility. I think also on the road, there is going to be, one of the challenges always has been on the road is the titles that you can tour only, really recognizable titles. And that I'm hoping is going to change, and we're really going to push forward into trying to do some more advantageous programming and not just do the same old thing. So I think there's a lot of really inspiring things that we can do moving forward. So I'm really just looking forward to what's to come.
And what do you think in general? I mean, as we say, you're at the mercy of science. and the vaccine for what's it going to take to bring people back into seats in theater audiences, put actors back on stage. But is there, what kind of planning is already happening, I would say, I would ask, for the acting company aside, I mean, from being at the mercy of when the vaccine becomes vastly available?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, I think we will make sure that we aren't going to start any theater until everyone's healthy. So, I mean, and that just doesn't mean our company of actors and our office staff, but that is also, we're going to have a clear sign from the road. And, there are organizations on the road, and conferences. One is coming up, which I think we'll learn a lot more about what is going to be the new industry standard around health and safety. So I think there will be a lot of, just even when a vaccine is readily available, I think things like, just simple things like hand sanitizing stations will be available. I think ventilation indoors will be a big thing. I think making sure that the dressing rooms and the backstage areas are adequately prepared. I don't run a venue, but I can only assume there'll be protocols about front of house, what's going on with the bathrooms and the concession, all of those types of things. So I think there'll be a real comprehensive plan.
The acting company is 48 years old this year. So we're going on a 50-year-old company that has survived and thrived, and then the pandemic hits. Do you think about, like, what are some of the tenets that the acting company, can never lose, but yet how it's had to change so, greatly over the pandemic time? What's worked, what have you not lost that has worked, and what is shifting in a way that the acting company may look very different in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing for the acting company is that the actors, the foundation of the theater, that is our steadfast belief. And I think there are a lot of theaters that promote, rightfully so, the development of playwrights and of new plays. But, for us, it's about the actors. So that's the steadfast thing. And I think we believe the best way for, we give opportunities for emerging actors who are 3 or 4 years or under out of graduate school. And, we believe the best way is to go and tour the country, where one night you're playing a 200-seat auditorium, the next night you're playing a 2,000-seat auditorium. Sometimes you'll have part of your set, sometimes you'll have no set. I think all of those things just strengthen your muscles as a performer. So those elements I don't think will change. I mean, I think we do have some new programs coming up to help, actors moving forward. I think there's no secret that these drama schools are very expensive in most cases. There's a real hardship, not just about the amount of money an actor off Broadway or on tour makes, but also, the debt presumably that they're carrying around. We're in the planning process of launching a debt relief program that is directly related to the debt that actors are carrying out of drama school. So that is something in the next 8 or 9 months we're going to build towards. So when actors join the company, we're relieving a certain amount of money off of their student loans. So hopefully when they leave us, they're in a better financial position than when they entered the acting company. So I think a lot of things will be new and different. So that's a new a new program for us moving forward. So yeah, I think there'll just be a lot that's really exciting, and I think just the sheer, the thing of an audience being in an auditorium, watching live theater, watching human life reflected on the stage. I think there'll be a real celebration when that comes around. I think we're all going to have to be patient, whether that's July in New York on Broadway, whether that's next fall before we see a full, off-Broadway season. But I think when that moment comes, we'll all remember just, missing human interaction and seeing our lives reflected on the stage.
Is there one element of all of that that you're just so looking forward to and craving now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think again, for me, it's, we take theater to places that, don't have 60 off-Broadway theaters, or don't have, largely that they might have one LORT theater in town, or they might have one professional theater. But many of the places we go to are towns like where I grew up. I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is a town of 300,000 or 400,000 people, and there isn't a professional theater in that city. So, for the acting company to be able to take professional, sophisticated theater, to places that haven't had it in almost now a year and a half or 2 years by the time we're there. I'm really looking forward to being in those venues and experiencing that.
As am I, whether it's in Fort Wayne, Indiana or in New York. Cannot wait. Well, Ian, thank you so much for talking to me today. This gives me a lot to look forward to. Cannot wait to have theater back. But in the meantime, I'm excited for what's to come, especially for the acting company.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Meredith, for having me. I had a great time.
Absolutely. And this has been Let's Talk About It. We'll talk to you next time.